Hi everyone, Peter Liciaga here, your Mount Laurel martial arts guy from Donato Karate Center, and I finally put this video together. This video actually took me a couple of days to really get my head wrapped around what I wanted to share with you guys, and it's going to be this is me. I'm putting my heart on the line here. I'm actually going to share with you things that are personal to me, and I struggled with this. I'm just going to be honest with you. Sharing your life, your personal life with others is a challenge because you expose yourself. You're becoming transparent. I want to be genuine and transparent. That's one of the things that I've always strived for in my whole life. So if you've known me for a while, you pretty much know that about me. And so this video was a tough one because I truly believe that the parent's journey is a hero's journey. But a hero's journey, I mean, the idea is that you have to go through a challenge. You have to rise above. You have to overcome. And it's important to me to share uh, the part of my life, or at least a part of my life, or small parts of my life that demonstrate that I'm just like you guys, that I have my ups and my downs. And so this video is really going to share something that's really personal to me, and there's a reason why I want to do it, because in this video I'm really going to encourage parents out there, anyone that wants to be a parent, or anyone for that matter, to really to make it your purpose and your mission to make a choice to build yourself up, and by building yourself up, you build up those that are around you. And I hope that you stay to the end. I'm going to do the best that I can to make this as quick as possible. But this is a story that's really deep in my heart. It's my life. So I hope you last through to the end. And if not, I do understand you have things you got to do. I'm not going to ask you to shut your phone off. I'm not going to ask you to isolate yourself. Wherever you are, I encourage you just to listen to this, because I want to share, and I believe you'll benefit from it, which is the reason why I want to share this, is for the benefit of you. I share my life with you so that we can see that, hey, look, we all struggle, we all are challenged with just living life every day, and that let you know this is what I do, this is my story, you have your story, and I really want to let you guys know the work that I do in our community. That I've grown to be the person that I am, so that I can do the work that I do. Like I'm a teacher, I'm a mentor, and I'm just one of the community members. I'm at 57 years old. I put a lot of years, lived a lot of enough years to know that I know who I am. I know what my likes are. I know what my strengths were, what my strengths are. So there's a lot that I know about myself that I share with the community, and I put myself out there. People trust me, and some people still have yet to know me, and I want to build that trust, let you know who I am. The best way to do that is to share my life story. And as we move forward in this, my hope is that you can see that we are all the same. My travels around the world, I found that out to be true. Okay, so as we move forward, I just want to make sure that I share with you things that I know that are that could be important to everyone. Now, the first two episodes, this is the third of 3 episodes that I've shared, and in the first episode, I shared, I called it a parent's journey is a hero's journey, and welcome to my world. I really shared what it was for me, what it's like to be on the front line of parenting, and also me dedicating these video series that I've done to my mom and my dad, and why I did that. And then also I shared the last words that my dad said to me before he passed away, and why I have a passion to do what I do, and this sense of calling to teach, and specifically teach in martial arts, is a very specific reason why I do what I do. And then my thoughts on this parent's journey, and this journey of being a hero, this hero's journey. And in episode 2, on this hero's journey, this parent's journey being a hero's journey, I spoke about where I got that from, and I also spoke about growing up in the Bronx, what it was like to grow up in the Bronx, and the book Hero with a Thousand Faces, and how when I read that book, I reflected on my journals that I wrote through the years, through my life, and I saw similarities with what was written in this book and in my journals. And I also, looked at the concept of the hero's journey, and then I looked at how that's just like parenting and my experiences in the Bronx, and then that one defining moment in the Bronx, the one of many, but this was the aha moment, the defining moment in my life that redirected that changed my mindset, and then set me on a course to bring me to where I am today. So those were what I shared in the first two videos. In this video, in this episode, I'm going to share a very personal experience. And that experience is when I first became a dad. And of course, in the first video, in the last couple of videos, I shared that, my family that I have now, my oldest daughter who's 18 and my son who's 14. But I also shared that I had a family that I had a relationship that I was in before I met my wife. And my wife and I, Renee and I, are going to be celebrating our 31 years anniversary this month. 31 years together. But prior to that, 31 years ago, probably 32 years ago, I was still in a relationship that had come to an end. But in that relationship, I had two children. So I want to share my experience being a dad for the first time. And the reason I am a father today and the choices that I make today as a father, as a husband, was based on lessons that I learned the first time I had that opportunity to be a dad and to be in a relationship. And so on May 21st in 1981, when I was 20 years old, I became a father. My first opportunity, and I remember that. I remember holding him in my hand. His name was Peter Simon Liciaga Jr., and we called him PJ for short. And I remember holding him. I remember it was rough times. I was having a rough time that time, and the relationship was very a violent relationship, and there was alcohol involved in the relationship, we were making a lot of bad choices during this time. I was 20 years old. I was about 2.5 years outside of the streets. I was working as a construction worker, and this picture was taken on the one with me holding my son was in a motel. We did not have a place to live, and I was working construction, and my boss actually put us up in a motel because my girlfriend at the time was when she was pregnant. He felt he helped us out, and he paid for the hotel, and he was born in a hotel, and his first bassinet was the drawer of the motel room, the dresser. We took it out, put a pillow in it and blankets in it, and that's where he slept. And about 3 months after that, we had moved into a small little apartment that I was able to get. And about 3 months, he was about 3 months old. I noticed that his responses were slow. Like, for example, I would call his name, PJ, but he wouldn't look. And eyes would just look everywhere. And something just didn't seem right. And so we took him to the doctor, and then that started a journey of a series of tests. And then after about 6 months, he got water in the brain. His head started getting bigger and swollen, and then where we had to take him to the hospital where it had to be drained. And so test after test, we saw experts after experts, and we really did not know what was going on with him. And eventually, they just said that he had cerebral palsy, and this was like a broad term they told me, which meant that he had a whole bunch of things going on. They weren't sure exactly what, and they would not know, until time went by. And then over time, we realized that he was deaf, and that he was blind, and that his body had really no control over his body. And so he was eventually, ended up in a chair. He had to be fed, and he'd be taken care of. And this was Christian, PJ, when he was, I guess about 9 years old here, maybe about 9 years old, 10 years old, and he was in the chair. And this was a rough time for me, and also his mom. And I did not deal with this well. I struggled with this to the point where I left. I just so overwhelmed. It was so tough on me and all of us. And I left. I made the mistake and made the bad choice, and I left. And I left them on their own, where his mom had to raise him on her own. And it's not something that I'm proud of. It's something that I did, and I understand it now. And but this was my son, and the years went by, and the mom and I had left. We separated, and I would visit, come back and forth, visit them, but I really was not involved in his life at all. And I started living my own life, and I started becoming a performing artist, traveling around the world, which really kept me out of the United States. And then and then I got to that place where where PJ's mom and I basically were working it out together, where I would pay child support and all that stuff. And eventually I met my current wife Renee in 1986, and then just lived my life. And PJ was living with his mom. His mom was taking 100% taking care of him, and she, again, God bless her, she took care of PJ. I was totally irresponsible, not part of taking care of him. And then it was in 1993, I was in Germany, and I got a call from home. I was called into the office. The artistic director called me to the office of the theater during the show, and then they told me that they got a call from home from my mom saying that PJ had passed away. And so he had passed away from, they said, cardiac arrest, cardiac respiratory arrest. That's what it says on his death certificate. And it was due to consequences of the bronchial asthma and cerebral palsy and seizure disorder. So he had passed away with that. And this totally became a disruption in my life. I didn't know what to do. So I stopped what I did. I flew back to the States and went to the funeral. And then this was my experience, my first experience, and the biggest, of course, wake-up call to me. And I was given a letter that I do have here. I have little things here that from this time with it. There's a little box with PJ stuff, the little cross from his coffin, and the death certificate. The little pictures that you see up here are here. But then there's a letter. And I'm not going to read this letter because I just get too emotional on this letter, but I'll share it with you. It was a letter from the lady who was like a teacher to PJ, and she spoke about PJ and the person that he became. And she spoke about this young man that I did not know. And it was when I was reading that letter and the days that came after that, that really worked on my heart of this person that I had become, and the opportunity that I missed out on as a father to this incredible young man. And so I know I totally failed him as a father, and I had all the excuses in the world, but the bottom line was this: I was responsible for being that dad. And so, yeah, I failed, but I had a second chance, and I learned a lesson, and I did not want to continue to be this kind of man. And I remember I had a dream because I was struggling with, my failure to my son PJ, and this started working on my heart. And I remember I had a dream with PJ, and PJ was walking. He was in his little suit that he wore when he was buried, and he looked at me because I was struggling. He looked at me in the dream, and he just smiled and said, "Dad, it's okay. I forgive you." And from that moment on, it was well with me, but I knew I had a lot of work to do. And at the time, Renee and I, we did not have children. We were just working hard as performing artists, just building marriage. And I was committed to being, that husband that I needed to be in that relationship. But I knew we wanted children. And so I knew that. And I struggled that, I did not want to be the father that I was to PJ. I did not want to be that kind of father. So I started looking at myself as if I got the second chance to become a dad, that there were specific things that I was going to do. And I started working on myself with that. And there are choices that I made. And I want to share the lessons with you because I did have the second chance, obviously. My wife and I are celebrating 31 years this month. And then my daughter, Alexandra, 18 years old and an incredible young lady. And my son, Christian, who's now 14 years old, an incredible young man. And I'm there watching it, pouring into them, doing the best that I can as a dad. But I'm being very purposeful with what I'm doing. The getting up in the morning, the hard work that I do, the time that I spend with them, how I manage my hours and my time with them, all based on lessons that I learned in my failure as a dad the first time. And I want to share that with you. And it's the reason why I share this with you, because I think it's important. And this is why I share this with you. And so like I want to wear my heart on my sleeve. And, I really, it's important, I believe, that everyone in the community that I connect with, because I'm a teacher and I have students. And then those of you that might want to bring your children to our academy, and I'm the teacher there. Here I am, a 57, almost 60-year-old instructor. I think it's important that you know why I do what I do. Why is this man here teaching these children? Okay, yeah, he wants to teach kicks and punches and all that, but I do this full time. And there's a reason why I do this full time. There's a reason why I left the entertainment industry and settled down to become the father that I knew I needed to be for my own children, to be the husband that I know I needed to be for my wife, and to serve the community the way I believe I was called to as a teacher in martial arts. There's a reason why I do all that. Why do I parent and teach with the conviction and passion that I do? And that's why I need to share this story. There's a reason why I have the passion that I do. And even though the details of our lives may be very, very different, what I went through, what you went through, we're all unique. And just like you, I'm a parent. You're a parent. And I know, and I know you know, all parents know that parenting is tough. It's tough, and it is terrifying. I'll never forget the day when I learned that I was going to be a parent for the first time, and then how terrifying that was, because I knew that my job situation was bad. I knew that there was substance, there was alcohol within our household, which I knew was bad because of my own upbringing. And I also was terrified, knowing that my wife and I, Renee and I, were going to have our first baby. Terrified knowing the dad that I was before, terrified that I was determined not to be that dad, but not knowing what was going to happen. So I was terrified, and I believe we all can relate to that. So parents, I definitely know what you're going through. And so every time I meet a parent at our school and they come to me with their challenges and their desires to help their child, or, I get it. I totally get it. And this is why I need to share this story. And this is why I'm doing this video. Okay, and so parenting is terrifying. So for me, that's why I believe parenting, the journey of being a parent, is a hero's journey. I truly, truly believe that. And when I shared this diagram here, this journey that we're on, we all, as a parent, as human beings, are called to action, called to this adventure. Okay, we'll have assistance and guidance along the way, and then comes that time where you're going to have to leave your comfort zone and then go into this world that's going to be challenging, that's going to be hard, that's going to be tough and terrifying. Yeah, sounds like parenting, but it's generally the way it is. We all are living this life. Okay, we're going to have these trials and challenges and obstacles, the ups and downs. We're going to be in deep valleys, and then we'll be on mountaintops, excited, and then we'll have those lows where we think that this is horrible, in a dark, dark place. Okay, so we all going to go through that, and we're going to have to confront our greatest fears, our greatest challenges, and we're going to have to approach them, come up to them, and confront them, knowing that we have to get through them, overcome them, to get through what will be a crisis in our life that will take us to our breaking point, and then we'll overcome that. And that's been my experience. I know that's been your experience. Many of you, you've gone through those hard times, those dark times, those moments you say to yourself, I'll never get through this. But we do. We get through it. And I've lived enough years to been through some hard times to know we will get past this. And then at the other side of the crisis, I've experienced the treasure that comes with that, the wisdom that comes with that. That's the reward. It's not so much, the materialistic things that you get. Yes, the relationships, but it's more the wisdom that you get. And for me, wisdom is living a life and learning lessons as you live that life. These are real life experiences, real life lessons. That's the treasure. That's the wisdom, especially when you go through those crises. And then we return, we come back to our comfort zone, come back to our home, and then there's newness in us where we're wiser, we're more experienced, and we have this opportunity to make better choices. And then we have this resolution within ourselves that as I move forward, I will make better choices. And if I do make a mistake, I'll know that I can overcome this. I can get through this. And there will be, there'll come those times where you'll get back to those places where you're going to have to work hard, you have to fight hard. And again, hero's journey where you get back. So as we go back, this is what I would tell a parent who would ask me for my thoughts about parenting. What can you do as a parent, to not only help you along the way, to be able to mitigate all the challenges, the ups and downs, to equip yourself, to equip your mind, your body, your emotions, to be ready to withstand the battles, the war. Okay? To me, it's being a warrior, being, to train like a warrior. And so it all starts with a decision. I decided, and a decision is coming to a resolution in your mind, in your heart, and to consider all that you've experienced and to decide. Just decide. Now, there's the word decide here, break it to two parts. Because I know it's Spanish, if my name is Peter de la Cruz, that means I'm Peter of the Cruz family. So that word de, I know in Spanish, de means from or of. So Peter from the Liciaga family. Okay, so from, and side means to cut off, Okay, and so the word decide is to cut off. So I've decided to cut myself off from my old mindset and old ways, things that were not conducive, to the direction I want to go to. So I made a decision. And so this is what I decided to do. I decided, first of all, to be that husband and to be that father that I wanted to be. Not just wanted to be, but needed to be. Not just for my children and for my wife, but for me, for my own mental health, for my own emotional health, for my own physical health. And so the first thing that I did was that I accepted a core belief system that I would stand on and commit my life to. Now, we all have a core belief system that will tell us what's right and what's wrong. And for me, it's I chose what would be my core belief system. Now, if you want to ask me what that is, I'll love to explain that all to you. But the point is this: I decided. So decide that this is what's right, and this is my core belief, and I'm going to commit my life to it and stand on it. And the second thing that I did, I chose to actively and purposely live as a warrior. When I reflect back to, when I went through the streets, survived the streets of New York and just survived. I'm a survivor. I remember Renee, my wife, one time said that, well, Peter, that's just the way you are. You're a warrior. You're a fighter. And she said, that's what I loved the most about you when I met you, was the fact that you were a warrior. You had this conviction that you would stand up, and I was amazed when she said this to me, because I really didn't see that in myself. But I knew that, eventually that was the one thing that I was actively going to do, be a warrior and fight a good fight every single day. And this is why, for me, martial arts was the perfect environment for me, because it trains a person to fight a good fight. And not just the physical, even though that's great, that's awesome, especially when I was younger. I was able to do all these incredible physical, things, jumps and kicks and flips and all that. But as I get older, not so much. I think that I'm still pretty good, but I can't do what I did when I was younger. I started when I was 9 years old, so I could not do the things that I did when I was younger. So, but what I'm experiencing now is the mental and the emotional empowerment, and is what I'm telling my students now, the magic of martial arts. So even though my body is not the youthful body that it was, okay, there's things that I learned, concepts, principles, ideas, a thought process that I understand here, that I practice physiologically, but it's in my mind what I learned, the magic of martial arts, the way to think, way to control and manage my emotions. That's where the real battle is. So that was the second thing that I did. First thing, stand on what I know to be right, my core belief system. And then the second was to have this mindset of a warrior, to always train like a warrior, think like a warrior, and yeah, do everything like a warrior. So next thing here, so after 57 years of my ups and downs of my life, and going through all these challenges, goods and the good and the bad, this is what I suggest all parents do. Within this circle here, where we see here the action, for ourselves, I say do martial arts. That's the only area, only activity that I know that has been designed on purpose to build the person to be a warrior, not because of the kicks and punches, breaking boards. That's all spectacle, but it's a mindset. It's a heart. And what I remember when I first started, what they would call indomitable spirit, this warrior spirit, where no matter what your challenges are, you work through it, you fight through it. And so that's my suggestion for the parent. And train, no matter how old you are. It's what's awesome now these days. At 57 years old, I've been a Donato Karate since 1999, came full-time instructor in 2000, and it's in the last 10 years I've been seeing this great trend where 30-year-olds up through 50-year-old dads are training. Fathers are coming on the floor training. And so I believe they're seeing that, that martial arts is a great environment. They could come in there, be physical, it's safe, especially with you got to have a great teacher that knows what they're doing, but it's safe and it's injury free, and they get to train their bodies wherever they are, because a 30 to 50-year-old's been working hard, especially if you're 40 years old, you have a couple of kids, and you've been doing your job, just working your job, and so your body has been acclimated to that, and they're not 20-year-olds anymore, so they're feeling the challenges of their body, but they're coming into our school, the martial arts environment, not just our school, Donato Karate Center, but other schools that I visited, that even my school, the jiu-jitsu school that I train at, we're having guys come in, fathers come in, 30, 40, 50 years old, and getting on the mats and training, and not so much for the physical, even though they love the physical part of it, but more importantly because it improves their mental strength. It empowers them mentally because they feel great about themselves, and they know it's a smart thing to do, and their heart, their emotions are on fire because they know it's the right thing to do, and it feels right. And I see how they train, and I'm training with them, the energy they have. It's a very youthful energy. Yeah, okay, we'll have a ace, ouchies and boo-boos, but on the mats, it's incredible. So one thing I suggest to all parents do, become a martial artist, train like a warrior, build your mind, build your heart, strengthen your ability to process your emotions, and this way you control your anger, you control all these emotions like a warrior, because when you're in the heat of the battle, the last thing you want is to get emotional. You need to think and specifically work your way through the battle, the challenge that you're going through. And I highly recommend that you, if you cannot go to a school itself, then do it online, because go to YouTube, and you could search anything on Google or YouTube. How do I train like a warrior, train like a martial artist? And then you start there. And of course, if you, I highly recommend you find an instructor and then connect with them. Now, whether you connect with them, person to person, in flesh, in the training, or through Skype, or through email, or texting, or in Facebook groups, anything, connect with an instructor. Of course, you could connect with me. I'm easy to find and connect with, and I'll be more than happy to share information with you for free. The only time you'll pay for me is if you come to Donato Karate Center and you become a student. That's the only time. Why? Because we have to pay for the space. We have to pay, because that's my job. We'll make sure we pay for all that, so you'll contribute to that. But other than that, I'll make this available for free, okay? Because you cannot come physically, because you're working, you're doing what you need to do, to be a parent, to meet your responsibilities. You're working hard, you're doing all that you can, from sun up to sundown, and then you're spending time with your family. All this you're doing, so I get it. It's not much time, so connect with me. We can find a way to do this so that you can start training and thinking like a warrior. With that, I would also add, have your children, as soon as possible, start training like a warrior. Training like a warrior. A lot of times parents will ask me, oh, Peter, I have, a kid that's 4 years old. When's a good time to get them started in martial arts? And my answer is always the same. Always the same. The answer is this: as soon as possible. I don't know what's possible. I know what was possible for me, because I was a martial artist when Alexandra was born and Christian was born. I was an active martial artist. I was living as a martial artist, a warrior on purpose. And when they were born, they came into that world. And so what was possible, it was possible for them at 2 years old to start training like a warrior. And so now that's why you see Alexandra at 18 years old, a third-degree black belt, teaching full-time and sharing her knowledge. And Christian, as he goes through his day and doing what he's passionate about, you'll see this warrior spirit in him as he goes through his life. So that's incredible. So what's possible? I don't know for you. I don't know what age your children are, but if it's possible, I say do it. Enroll them into a program where they learn how to be a martial artist. Or you train like a martial artist and live like a martial artist, and let them watch you as you model what it is to be this fighter, the ups and downs of life. And I love it that my kids saw, they were saw, I was up front, there was a time we almost lost our home, and my kids saw how I processed that, the fear of losing a home, and how I was able to manage that and overcome that, where we were able to save our home, and all the ups and downs over the last, my daughter's 18 years old, over the last 18 years, she saw how her mom and I were able to stick together as a team and fight a good fight through the challenges that were confronted with to us in life. So, for your children, right here, okay, right now you have children maybe 4 to 11 years old, the opportunity to help them prepare, it's always there, okay, but the greatest opportunity right now, if you have a child that's 4 to 11 years old, right there, you see, that's the time, because they're home. They're at home. They're safe. You're there protecting them. You're meeting their needs. But eventually, they're going to, and they're born, all of us are born with this call to adventure, and it's in them. And I'll see it in all the kids that I work with. Every child, every human being that I come in contact with, they all have a call to adventure. Now, whether they follow it or not, that's the question. But we all have a call to action, to adventure, to leave home. And then along the way, we'll have the assistance, and you'll see, we'll all go through this hero's journey. But as parents, we have an opportunity. And this is what I did with my second set of kids, right? I did not do it with my first set of kids. My oldest daughter, and she was born just after PJ was born. And to this day, she'll tell me, she says, well, Dad, why weren't you that dad when I was a kid? I told her, sweetie, I didn't get it when I was a kid. When you were a kid, I just didn't get it. I get it now. And so she'll admit that she envies Alexandra and Christian because they have the dad that she always wanted. And so you have an opportunity here to be that parent and give your child the tools and the skill sets they need to become this warrior. Now, I don't care whether they break boards or not, where they have high kicks. They could be the most, athletic kid in the world, or the least athletic kid. It doesn't matter. Why? Because they're going to learn concepts, principles, ideas, and they're going to learn how to utilize that body to bring those concepts, principles, and ideas to what I call, they could actually feel it. It's like, they could. What is it like to focus in martial arts? You learn that in a very, I forget the word, escapes me, but you can actually feel what these life skills, these principles, concepts are, and the value of them in the martial arts environment. And so right there, in that one little spot there, right there, from 4 to 11 years old, yes, younger, I don't know what's possible. My kids started at 2, but I know at our school, generally most kids from most families at 4 years old, we found was the best age for them to start. Okay, and then that nice that space of time where we parents still have a high level of influence with our children, and it goes until about 11. Like my son, 10, 11 years old, that's where about 11 years old, I knew that he had his own mind. By 12 years old, he didn't want to do martial arts anymore. He had other things he wanted to do. I said, sure, go ahead. But he was second degree black belt by then. He has a great foundation. Why? Because I trained him to be a warrior in that age, that little spot there, from 2 to 10, 11 years old. So that's my recommendation if you have a 4 to 11 years old. And so let them train to first degree black belt. That means they get all the requirements to be a first degree black belt, and then evaluate after that. And now if they haven't left home yet, or if they've said, oh, Mom, Dad, I really, I want to do other things, fine, great, awesome, excellent, more power to you, son, daughter, go for it. And then you support them, you encourage them, but they can still use what they learned in martial arts. They have an incredibly strong foundation. So whatever they decide to do at whatever age, they will encounter obstacles. And then you will then know that they have the tools, the skill sets to overcome, because they're going to attack those obstacles like a warrior and overcome it like a warrior. Why? Because you've instilled this mindset to be a warrior. Again, not with this, but with this and with this, more importantly. Okay? You have your core belief system that you stand on, you demonstrated, you lived out. Of course, your children are going to get to that place where they're going to decide what their core belief system will be, but they'll look at your life. They'll see how you modeled that. And that's going to be an incredible influence on them when they get to that point, when they decide what path they'll take when it comes to their core values. And they will also know what you did, what you taught them as far as how to get through those challenges of life, those trials and those obstacles of life, because you train them. Now, if they're still home with you and they still want to, and then you go on that, they continue that journey, they go through high school, there, and they're still home, you can still give them ongoing training and preparation by letting them continue their training in martial arts to second degree, third degree, fourth degree. My goodness, my daughter right now, 18 years old, is preparing for her 4th degree master level in martial arts. Now, Christian stopped after 2nd degree. That's fine. He's got that foundation. But I almost called her Miss Liciaga. My daughter has continued. And she's sharing that knowledge because she's got a passion as well. If you watch her teach, you'll see she's got a passion and a gift for teaching. And so after 57 years of ups and downs of my life, this is what I would suggest that parents do, because martial arts encompasses the whole person. Okay, yes, the physical, but more importantly, the mental and the emotional, the heart. Okay, so that's what I recommend. And to me, big aha moment when I read this book, A Hero of 1,000 Faces, and I saw this hero's journey. And then I did my research on this. I was like, yes, yes, this is what I recommend to all parents, to all human beings. I recommend that. Now, I don't have no idea how long I've been here with you, and you've been with me. Thank you so much. I really feel like I've gotten off my heart and off my shoulders, off my chest, what I wanted to say to you. And if there's just one person still here with me, you're that one. You're that one that whatever I said needed to be said too. And I remember years ago when I was speaking. I do a lot of speaking in front of groups, youth groups, schools. I've done a lot of speaking over the years. I think my first speaking was back in the early 90s. But anyway, I remember I had spoken to a group of teachers, but it was probably about 400 educators. I was asked to come in because a lot of the teachers were losing, quote unquote, hope in being a teacher. And they wanted to have this workshop and have the speaker come in and talk about, just being hopeful as teachers. And the one thing that I said to them was this, that it can get discouraging when you're teaching and you're looking at the faces of everyone that you're teaching, and then you don't see, they're all rolling their eyes because, you're being that teacher and they're going blah, blah, blah. That's fine. Okay. I told them, but look for that one. Look for that one. And know there's going to be one student, one person that whatever you say, whatever you give to them in that moment, they need. You may, if you're fortunate, you'll see them in that moment, but more often than not, you won't know. But know that you will touch one life. And I've always believed that. And so I'm here, and there's one of you here that's here right now with me. And you're being touched with what I said, moved by what I said. Me saying that, all this, doing whatever I do, was for you. And because I was that one person when people poured into me, when I was a gangbanger, to where I was just doing stupid things and making dumb choices that affected many people's lives. There were people that were brought into my life that planted seeds. And they don't see who I am today. My dad got to see who I am today. My mom got to see who I am. My grandfather, now my kids see who I am today. So if you're that one, thank you so much. If you have any questions, any thoughts, if you want to just give me your feedback about this, you can email me. My email's right here. But I want to thank you so much for staying on this journey with me. And I'm always there. If not physically, I'm on the internet. You can connect with me. And if anything I can do to serve you, let me know. Okay, so peterliciaga@gmail.com. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. You have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you guys on the mats. Take care.